Okay, so trying to get real, like, global brand recognition often feels, well, almost impossible these days. You're swimming in this huge digital sea of noise, and when companies aim for that worldwide visibility, they often take what seems like the quick route.
Yeah.
Write one big announcement, maybe run it through a basic translation tool, and then just blast it out across continents, hoping something sticks.
And that approach, our research shows pretty clearly that's basically a recipe for immediate failure when you go international. A successful global press release isn't just a document you've translated, no. It's a strategically localized announcement. It's distributed carefully across specific countries, continents, media platforms, all designed to actually resonate with potentially millions of local customers, investors, and, yeah, crucially, media there.
Right, so the goal isn't just scale for scale's sake. It's more like surgical precision at scale. Today we're diving into that strategic playbook. We want to show you the essential steps, the deep localization, getting the timing just right, and tracking the specific results to really maximize your message's impact around the world. And importantly, make sure that brand recognition lands exactly where you intend to grow.
Yeah, our mission here is to help you move past that frankly outdated idea that one single message magically fits every international market. We're looking at the strategies that are proven to work, strategies that ensure you adapt properly while still keeping that core brand message consistent everywhere.
Okay, let's unpack this then. If just translating isn't the main hurdle, what are these, like, hidden factors derailing so many attempts at international PR?
Well, the first thing, and it's absolutely vital, is recognizing how cultural nuances just fundamentally change how your message is perceived. Our data makes it incredibly clear. These regional variations, they influence everything. The communication style people expect, the right level of formality, and especially how people consume news. You just cannot assume that what worked, say, brilliantly in London is going to fly somewhere else.
Can you give us some specifics on that, on the tone? Because this feels like where the strategy really has to pivot, doesn't it?
Think about the level of detail needed. Okay, so in Japan, audiences consistently prefer announcements that are formal, very respectful, and highly detailed. They want the full picture, the context, before they really engage. Now, contrast that with, say, American readers. They're generally conditioned to respond faster to content that's concise, maybe a bit punchier, and clearly focused on the benefits. If you don't adapt that structure, your message is likely going to get ignored by one of those audiences, maybe both.
And the research highlighted that in Europe, you're facing more than just language differences. There are different underlying value systems at play.
Exactly. If you're targeting certain European markets, suddenly things like data privacy, sustainability messaging, social impact, these become almost mandatory considerations. Often they take precedence over just a straight-up hard sales pitch. It's really about what the audience values culturally, not just what product they might buy.
So it's not just what you say, but tailoring that cultural wrapper around it. Huh. And that's before we even touch on the logistical traps people fall into.
That's right. Yeah, beyond the content itself, you've got these non-content hurdles. Language needs true localization. You have to go way beyond just word-for-word translation. If you leave in, say, regional idioms or awkward attempts at humor or maybe obscure cultural references, you risk either completely confusing people or, worse, accidentally causing offense. Localization is really a specialized skill.
And the big, obvious one, time zones. You absolutely have to think about when journalists in your target region are actually, awake and working. If your team sends out a release at 5 p.m. New York time, that could easily land at 3 a.m. in, say, Tokyo, and boom, it's instantly buried under hundreds of other releases that arrived when the newsroom actually opened.
Plus, how people consume media varies hugely by region. We saw in the research some countries still lean heavily on traditional press newspapers broadcast for their main news. Meanwhile, other markets, they've totally shifted to digital platforms, news aggregators, maybe social media for breaking news. You have to know which channels actually matter where you're sending that release.
Okay, so the real difference between just local distribution, which might use one standard message, and global distribution, it's all about strategic adaptation. You're constantly tweaking the approach, the delivery, while making absolutely sure that core brand message stays consistent across all those different places.
You've got to pick your battles. Choose wisely.
Right, speaking of battles, we've talked strategy, we've talked adapting the message. Now let's get into logistics. How do we actually decide where to focus? You can't just, carpet bomb the entire globe with a press release and expect meaningful results.
No, definitely not. The very first step is aligning your business goals with the market realities. Your geographic targeting has to match where your potential customers, partners, stakeholders, where they actually are. So, for example, if you're a B2B software company selling to large enterprises, you'd probably prioritize regions with high-tech adoption, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
North America, Western Europe, places where the business infrastructure actually supports your product.
Okay. And conversely, if you're launching maybe a consumer app,
Mm.
something really accessible, targeting younger people who are mobile first, then you might be looking more closely at those fast-growing, super-connected markets, maybe in Southeast Asia.
Precisely. Your targeting criteria needs to be solid. You need to ask, does this region actually align with our revenue goals? Does it have the right purchasing power? Are we targeting countries where we genuinely have active expansion plans? Or maybe we focus on regions where competitors are surprisingly weak, give ourselves a first mover advantage. And you have to consider the regulatory side too. Is it a generally favorable environment for doing business?
And once we pick the continent or the region, we have to circle back to those media consumption habits you mentioned. It's more than just knowing if they read the paper, right?
Oh yeah, it's about the preferred style. Like
Yeah.
we touched on, German audiences, they tend to prefer content that's really rooted in facts, in data. Very detailed. The Japanese market, again, demands formality, deference, very respectful communication. Meanwhile, Australian media often responds best to a really straightforward, no-nonsense style. Just get straight to the point.
That difference in style really sets up an interesting scenario. Imagine launching the same product at the same time in, let's say, Singapore and Brazil.
Right. The product itself is identical, but the angle you use to sell it has to be localized. So, the Singapore press release, it might really emphasize technological innovation, speed, efficiency, playing to that sort of hyper-modern culture, but the Brazilian version, maybe that highlights community impact, social benefits, accessibility, focusing on completely different local values and interests. The core message stays the same, but the frame around it is perfectly adapted.
Okay, so we've nailed the localized message, we've picked the precise region, now we need the right delivery truck, basically.
Yeah.
Beyond just emailing your contacts, what are the tools that actually help guarantee we get in front of the right media outlets globally? Are those traditional wire services still necessary?
Oh, absolutely necessary. Yeah, because they provide instant credibility and, crucially, the infrastructure. Choosing the right distribution platform, that directly impacts whether your release actually reaches the right journalists and outlets in the markets you've chosen. The research we looked at cited 3 key global players pretty consistently.
Okay, let's start with the big names. PR Newswire comes up a lot. Seems like they offer one of the most comprehensive global networks, something like 170 countries. That's sheer breadth.
That's right. Then you've got Business Wire. They're also global, but they're particularly known for their strength in financial news. That makes them kind of the default choice for, say, publicly traded companies, big funding rounds, IPOs, especially across North America, Europe, and the Asia-Pacific region.
And the third one mentioned was Globe Newswire, often noted as maybe a bit more cost-effective, but still strong in specific high-volume areas, particularly Europe and North America.
Exactly. And the value of using these established platforms goes beyond just sending an email. Journalists tend to trust content coming from these recognized services. And critically, these services handle all the technical stuff, the regional SEO optimization, the specific formatting quirks, embedding multimedia, which can vary wildly depending on what the press in that region expects or requires.
But even the best platform can't fix a message that hasn't been localized properly. What are some of those common, maybe even obvious, format mistakes people miss in localization?
The errors often come from really simple assumptions about geography or culture. We saw examples of companies just failing to adjust basic formatting or terminology. Here's a classic one. Mentioning a fall product launch when you're targeting Australia.
Wait, yeah. A fall product launch in Australia. That means you're talking about autumn leaves in April. That sounds like an expensive mistake.
It is. You have to adjust that kind of seasonal terminology, make sure date formats are correct, month, day, year versus day, month, year, measurement units, metric or imperial. Currency references need to be local and clearly marked. If you're sloppy with those little details, you just instantly lose credibility.
And that localization effort needs to go deeper, right? Into search visibility, too. Geo-targeted keywords sound critical for getting found locally.
Absolutely critical. You have to research the exact terms and phrases your target audience uses in their local language, even their specific dialect. The classic example is mobile phone in the UK versus cell phone in the US. That single difference can totally kill your visibility if you get it wrong. And, importantly, you need to weave in location-specific keywords, naturally, city names, local industry jargon, regional identifiers, so that when a journalist searches for news in their area, your release actually shows up.
Okay, moving into the real tactical execution now. We've got the message, the market, the platform. Let's talk timing. When exactly do we hit send?
Timing. Yeah, this is the tactical bit that can genuinely make or break a global campaign. The data pretty consistently shows that Tuesday through Thursday tend to get the best results just for general engagement. And within those days, morning releases generally between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. in the recipient's local time zone seem to generate the highest pickup rates.
Okay, so we're deliberately skipping Mondays because everyone's catching up from the weekend, overloaded inboxes, and avoiding Fridays because newsrooms are winding down. But how do you coordinate that internationally when you might have a 12-hour or even bigger time difference? A single send time seems impossible if you want optimal reach everywhere.
You absolutely have to stagger your distribution. You can't do a single send. Sending one release out at 9 a.m. Eastern time in the U.S. Okay, great. That hits London during peak hours. But it lands in Tokyo at 10 p.m. their time. If both of those markets are critical for you, you have to run two separate time distributions. Ensure each region gets that content during its optimal 9 to 11 a.m. window. That's just non-negotiable if you want to maximize pickup.
And once that initial blast goes out, the job isn't over, is it? You can't just sit back and rely on the wire service to do everything.
No way. Follow-up is essential. The research suggests doing this can boost your pickup rates by 40 to 60%, significant. You generally wait maybe 24 to 48 hours after the main distribution, and then you personalize your outreach. Don't just send a generic, "Did you see this?" email. Reference specific data points or angles from the release that you know align with that journalist's specific area of coverage, their beat.
Let's talk cost for a second. Global distribution, using these premium platforms, it sounds like it could get expensive, potentially thousands per release. If we're trying to be smart about the budget, what's the best model to follow?
The smart play is usually a hybrid model, something designed for efficiency. Use those paid services, your business wire, your PR newswire for the really major strategic announcements. Think big product launches, significant funding rounds, things where you absolutely need guaranteed placement and really good analytics back.
Okay, and what about the more routine stuff, the day-to-day updates?
Yeah, for more regular updates, maybe just maintaining ongoing brand presence or even just securing some valuable backlinks for SEO.
Yeah.
That's where you can leverage free distribution channels. Or look at the lower tiered, more budget-friendly options like PR Web or maybe IAM Presswires packages. The core idea is use paid distribution when the results are absolutely mission critical and leverage free or cheaper channels for continuous visibility and SEO benefits over time.
That kind of implies we shouldn't necessarily aim for global saturation right away, especially if the budget is tight.
Oh, absolutely not. Test the waters first. Start with focused regional campaigns. Pick one or two key markets that are most important. Measure the results we're about to get into how, and then use that actual performance data to justify and guide your expansion into the next territory. Be iterative.
So assuming we're budgeting smart, we followed this whole strategic process. What are the biggest traps that could still mess it all up?
Yeah.
Turn our carefully localized press release into just expensive noise.
Well, the number one killer, honestly, is just basic targeting errors. We still see companies sending releases to regions where their products aren't even available yet, or equally bad, where the target audience has absolutely zero interest in that industry. It's just a complete waste of resources, and it really dilutes your message overall.
And then there's that audience misalignment problem we talked about earlier, tied to consumption habits.
Exactly. Sending, deeply technical B2B software news to journalists who cover consumer lifestyle topics, it's never going to get picked up no matter how well you rate the release. You have to ensure you're reaching media outlets within your target regions that specifically cover your industry. Seems obvious, but it gets missed.
And finally, the content itself. That's actually be news, right? Overly promotional stuff that just reads like an ad gets ignored instantly. The question you always have to answer for the journalist is, why should my readers care about this right now? If you can't answer that clearly, maybe with real innovation or a significant milestone, maybe don't send it.
That non-newsworthy content is a massive pitfall.
Yeah.
Journalists are looking for genuine industry insights, important company news, data that actually benefits their audience, not just, minor self-congratulatory updates.
Okay, so if we manage to avoid those pitfalls, we hit the right time zones, the message is perfectly localized, how do we actually know if we succeeded? What are the essential key performance indicators, the KPIs, that track genuine global impact?
You really need centralized, ideally automated tracking systems to monitor 4 key areas. First, coverage volume. How many pickups did you actually get, and crucially, where, in which regions? Second, geographic traffic sources. After the release goes out, where are the visitors to your site coming from? Does it match your target regions? Third, conversion rates. Are people in those specific regions actually taking the action you wanted them to take, clicking a link, signing up, whatever it is? And fourth, backlink quality. Look at the authority, the credibility of the websites that are linking back to your announcement or your site because of the release.
And the real goal isn't just collecting that data points, is it? It's about using it to adapt the strategy going forward.
Exactly. Use that data to compare performance across different regions. That's where the valuable intelligence lies. If, say, your German audience responded way better to a certain headline or call to action compared to your French audience, well, you've just learned something really important. That insight needs to feed back into every piece of future localized marketing for those regions. You should constantly be A/B testing those headlines, those localized content elements.
So this whole effective global distribution strategy, it's really not just about getting a quick PR hit, is it? It's about securing long-term global brand exposure, building that immediate credibility through third-party validation from the media, and really importantly, establishing a lasting digital footprint. SEO benefits, archived content, it all builds your authority over time.
It creates a really powerful permanent foundation for any global expansion plans.
Okay, so to wrap up for you listening, you should now have that strategic framework. Target precisely, localize deeply, time it all strategically, and measure absolutely everything. Hopefully you've moved way past that expensive old translate and pray approach.
Yeah, and we've established that this deep localization and precise targeting are just fundamental for global success. So here's a final thought. If tailoring a press release for audiences in, say, Singapore versus Brazil requires 2 fundamentally different angles, one focusing on tech, the other on community, what does that really suggest about the depth of consumer research you need before you even think about launching any product internationally? It kind of makes the press release almost the final critical checkpoint for your market readiness, doesn't it?
A really profound point to leave you with the press release as the ultimate litmus test. Excellent. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.